So in recent days, the three players that Manchester United have been linked to fairly heavily have been Matthias Cunha, Liam Delap and also Ederson to a lesser extent. And so in this video I'm going to be tactically breaking down how these three players would improve Ruben Amorim's side. So I have got analysis videos out on all three of these players, so I'll leave them linked in the eye above for you to check out after this video. But let's first start with Ederson in central midfield, and then we'll move on to Cunha and Liam Delap in the forward line. So Ederson, I've said before, would be my number one target for the central midfield position. The only reason I went for Manu Kone in my Who Manchester United Should Sign video, which I will also leave linked in the eye above and description below, was purely down to price. Atalanta reportedly are demanding £51 million for Ederson, which in comparison to someone like Manu Kone, who I reckon United could get from Roma for between £30 to £33 million, does seem a bit overpriced to me. Ideally, I think £40 million is what Ederson is worth. Above that, I do have concerns that it would take too much away from the overall budget that does need to be spent elsewhere. But if we do forget the price just for the moment, I do think Ederson is exactly what Ruben Amorim's midfield needs, and it's for one specific reason. I'm going to break down exactly what that is, but before that, if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to dragonjersey.com. They sent me over this 2006-2007 Manchester United home shirt with Ronaldo 7 on the back, which is probably my favourite jersey of all time. And they also sent me this Anelka PSG shirt from the 95-96 season. But they have got a variety of other retro and current season jerseys, and depending on where you live you can get 7 to 12 day delivery time, as well as a 30-day money back guarantee. But if you do want to check out any of the details before you buy, they have got their WhatsApp and email on the site. If you use code Atlantis at checkout, you'll get a 10% discount, so I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comment section below. So what's the specific reason why I think Ederson would improve Amorim's midfield? Well, it's pace and power. See, back in the summer, I suggested that United sign Amadou Onana over Ugarte, and it was for this exact same reason. I do like Ugarte, I just think Ederson is a more complete central midfielder, being a lot quicker when moving over longer distances, which allows him to eat up the ground on opposition players as they look to break quickly after a turnover, which combined with his upper body strength and tackling ability makes him the perfect anchor man to have in the rest defence, sitting behind the ball when United have possession over and being able to stop the attack in its tracks before it reaches the United defensive third. Now, whilst you could describe both him and Ugarte as ball winners, they are different style of ball winners, and you can see that pretty clearly when you compare both players' FBref reports over the past 365 days. If you look at Ugarte's, you can see that he's an incredibly high volume defensive action kind of ball winner, ranking in the 89th percentile for dribblers tackled and interceptions, and the 97th for dribblers challenged. However, he ranks in just the 22nd percentile for the percentage of dribblers he's tackled. Ederson, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. He still ranks fairly high for his interceptions, the 68th percentile, but just the 11th and the 2nd percentile for his dribblers tackled and challenged respectively. However, he ranks in the 89th percentile for the percentage of dribblers that he's tackled. And from the eye test, you can see how this translates statistically to the pitch, as Ugarte is a very front foot ball winner who is very good when it comes to anticipating a forward pass into the opposition's midfielder, jumping out assertively and almost throwing himself into a duel to make an interception or a tackle, which can lead to him winning the ball back high up the pitch, but some of the time, just because of how aggressive he is at doing this, he's going to mistime this fairly frequently throughout a match, which then leads to him getting beaten and leaving space in behind for the opposition to exploit. Whereas Ederson is not a front foot ball winner, but more of a recovery ball winner. He's not going to throw himself into a duel where it's all or nothing as Ugarte does, and so he isn't as valuable in pressing or counter-pressing situations. But because he's a lot more calculated with his defensive actions, he isn't going to get beaten as often in a tackle or when he's trying to make an interception, and so he isn't going to get bypassed as much as Ugarte is. And so in this sense, from a defensive point of view, I think Ugarte and Ederson could be a perfect midfield double pivot stylistically, kind of resembling a stopper and cover centre-back partnership where Ugarte jumps out looking to win the ball, whilst Ederson is there behind, able to use his pace and anticipation alongside his 1v1 defensive qualities to sweep up in behind. But it's not just out of possession where Ederson's pace and power would improve United, but also in possession as well, as he has the ability to drive the attack forward when there is open space in front of him, which none of United's current central midfielders are able to do to the same level. Ederson ranks around the mid to high 70th percentiles for his successful take-ons, as well as his carries into the final third third and penalty area, whereas Agate ranks around the same 3 successful take-ons and actually has a higher completion percentage, but much lower for his ball carrying metrics. Also, if you compare the passing sections of both players' FB ref reports, you can clearly see that Agate is not someone who is a great progressive passer, which is why I do say he's quite limited in possession. Whereas Ederson, despite being someone who you'd associate with being more of a ball winner with pace and power, is actually very good as a progressive passer, as the stats show. And the eye test backs this up as well, as when watching both Ederson and Agate play, Ederson's close ball control under pressure is a lot better, as is his ability to see and play incisive passes between the lines, and when in the final third, whereas Agate is going to keep it simple, mainly looking to use sideways passes to keep play circulating, Ederson can use his passing and ball carrying to progress the ball into the penalty area, whilst also having a thunderous shot in his locker as well. And in general, he's a greater goal scoring threat when he's arriving late into the box, as seen with him sitting in the 70th percentile for his non-penalty goals and his non-penalty XG. Overall, Agate is much better than Ederson in the press, and when United lose possession and want to counter-press quickly. But in pretty much every other area, certainly in possession, I think Ederson is the superior player. And so Amorim could use Ederson and Agate for games where United aren't going to dominate possession throughout the game, but against opposition sides who sit deep where we need greater creativity, Agate can come out of that midfield double pivot, and one of Bruno Fernandes or Mainu can come in to play alongside Ederson. But what about in the forward line with Cunha and Delap? Well, stylistically, if United wanted an alternative to Osimhen, then Liam Delap is a pretty good option. Like Osimhen, he has the pace, power and physicality to be able to receive direct passes into his feet whilst holding off the pressure of a centre-back on his back, and also capable of spinning and running the channel before being able to progress the ball into dangerous positions in the final third with his powerful ball carrying. Now obviously when it comes to his aerial threat and overall goal scoring ability inside of the box, Delap isn't on Osimhen's level, but you could argue that his close ball control is a bit better in many situations, and definitely superior to Højlund's. And so whilst I would be disappointed if Osimhen or Gyökeres weren't the striker we signed, for £30 million alongside Cunha, I think Delap could be a good option. And this is because I think Cunha needs a centre forward ahead of him who, unlike Højlund or Patrick Schick, isn't going to remain central, and instead can pull out wide and run the channels like Delap, or drop deep behind the midfield line like Xerxes, in order to drag an opposition centre-back away from those central areas and then open up the space for Cunha to break into from deep. If Amorim was to use a front three of Delap as a centre forward, Bruno Fernandes to his right and Cunha to his left, then I think Cunha would be United's main goal scorer, with Delap playing more of a facilitating role. In comparison to Højlund, Delap would improve United's ability to progress the ball into the final third, because when he pulls out wide and receives a pass down the channel, unlike Højlund who's quite clunky and just not that efficient with his hold-up play or ball carrying, Delap has the ability to keep the ball under control whilst driving the attack forward, and from here Cunha has the pace to be able to keep up with Delap's run, being the player to break into the box and looking to get on the end of Delap or someone else's through ball or cross. Also, a massive bonus of having both Cunha and Ederson centrally is that United's midfield would go from having barely any athletic ball carrying ability this season to next season having two of the most athletic, powerful ball carriers in world football, with both Ederson and Cunha excelling when carrying the ball into open space. And so this is going to make United a lot more effective at transitioning the attack quickly from their half to the final third, both in counter-attacking situations where United win the ball back in their own half, can feed Ederson or Cunha and allow them to drive the ball up the pitch, or in the build-up phase where United can drop their midfield deep, drawing the opposition's midfield line high up the pitch as they look to man press, in order to then play around or through the pressure to then exploit the space behind the midfield, with Cunha or Ederson then able to drive the attack forward. And so if United were only to sign 3 players this summer, Delap, Ederson and Cunha wouldn't be a bad trio, because they would bring the attributes that United desperately need, which is pace, power and ball carrying ability. So let me know what you think of these 3 players in the comment section below, and if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to dragonjersey.co. You can use code Atlantis at checkout for a discount. I'll leave it linked in the description and comment section below, and if you want to sign up to my Patreon to get access to the in-game Instagram group chat or read any of my articles, I'll leave that linked on the end screen now as well.